You know, she's terrific. Elizabeth is such a great actress to work with. She's really good at what she does, and she's also a really wonderful person. So it was always fun to explore things and scenes with her. We actually shot 2, maybe 3 scenes that never aired, that they cut out because the network had an issue of the priest and her hooking up. But it was no it was just a hand-holding kind of thing, but it was romantic. And as for the moral compass, Father Jack, I was always concerned. I didn't want him to be hypocritical or, be overly, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily pompous, but just, it's a war, and Jack came from military background, so he being the moral compass, he also knows that people are going to die, but never want to be flippant about that. And I think the scenes that I did have with her about that, where Jack was making a stance with her, because he just didn't want her to lose her moral compass herself, and that part was very important to Jack, because she represented a lot to him, being that she was the first person when at the end of the pilot we were together on the rooftop together. The only one we could trust was each other. I think that kind of sealed a bond that they had. So, but I really loved those scenes. I loved working with her, and she represented a big, strong sense of family to Father Jack. I thought it was very important that she was going to always be taken care of.
I have a question for Laura. I know earlier you mentioned in Smallville how you kind of convinced them to put you into more clothing. Was there anything that they had written at one time that you absolutely refused to do, or you really felt uncomfortable not doing?
Can I answer this?
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
I come from a great family, and I'm pretty shy, and there's always roles where they request you to do certain things. If you're already a part of a series, you really don't have that much of a say. If it's a movie, you can pre-negotiate. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to wear that if you have a say. But on the series, you get the script a couple days before. Oh my God, what am I doing in the scene? And you don't really have a chance to fight it if you're not comfortable with it. There was one episode where she was in a beauty pageant, and
yes, remember that?
and you don't get a lot of warning about that, and I'm always uncomfortable in my own skin. I'm a human being, it takes a lot for me to be comfortable, but you get past it, and if it's done well, and it's done tastefully, it ends up being all right. But there are situations where you do things you're not necessarily overly thrilled about, but you find your way around it.
I have a question for both of you, actually. Being in theater or in movies, you have a large chunk of time that you can memorize the entire script. What's it like working on a serial program where you get a script and then you have to finish it off in a certain amount of time? Do you memorize the entire thing, all of your scenes, or do you memorize one particular portion at a time?
What do you do?
Well, I don't trust anyone. So I learned the script, and I point to why I said that. I did a miniseries called Taken a while back, and there was I worked with an actor. He's on what's his name? He used to be on Sex and the City, and now he's on he's on the USA show called.
What's that, Plain Sight?
No.
No.
Wait. Are you talking about Stanford? He's on White Collar?
White Collar. Yes. Yes. Come on.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Willie Garson. So Willie Garson was in Taken with me, and the first day he played a German kind of scientist kind of guy, and he had a German accent. And we did 2 scenes together. First scene, we finished our first scene, and Willie comes up and goes, Joe, it was really nice. It was great. I'll see you later. I think I'm seeing you next week. And the AD goes, no, you're in the next scene. And Willie goes, no, I'm not until, he goes, no, look at the call sheet. We're doing the next scene. He did a monologue, and he did not prepare it. And he had a German accent.
Oh, wow.
So we sat together in the scene, and this was a Steven Spielberg production, and it was like, at the time, he was watching everything. He was watching all the dailies, he was watching and Willie's a terrific, awesome actor, and always prepared. But sometimes they change the schedule, and sometimes you don't get that schedule, or there's a mix-up somehow. And so my point of not trusting anyone is that I try to learn everything the first day or the second day, because I've seen it so many times when the schedule changes and they move it, or an actor gets sick, and then you got to move a scene ahead, and you have to be prepared. So
you also have to know that they're going to come out with revisions on the
Yes.
day right before the scene, so the dialogue will change as well.
yeah. Yeah, and it's like, memorizing lines is kind of like a muscle. The more often you do it, the better you get at it. And also when you're playing the part you start to make, the writers start to know that you would say it a certain way, and you understand the way they're writing, so it makes sense that you would say these things. So the memorizing the lines get easier and easier.
And I memorize the entire thing as well. It's the only way, especially on Smallville, some of the speeches I would give about Krypton and my home planet and my people, that doesn't just flow off your tongue, so you really have to memorize. And I remember my first day, it was like a 10-page monologue where I had like 20 marks on the floor that you had to walk to on a certain cue. And I was terrified, but if you have it down, like Joel said, you just keep working that muscle, it becomes easier, and they do write for you once they get to know you and how you speak.
The funny thing about that scene with Willie, though, when I watched it when it aired, he's so good. He's like, you would never tell that he just got those lines and started working on it. So it worked out actually quite well for him.